Good evening to one and all. Here at East Point Lighthouse again, looking towards the east coast, southeastern end, the southeastern coast, here in St. Philip. The lighthouse here again. As I always say, St. Philip is the flattest parish in Barbados. And it is sometimes washed by the Atlantic Ocean. Yes, Barbados is an island nation in the West Indies, in the Caribbean Sea, bounded by the Caribbean and Atlantic Ocean. So it is off the chain of Caribbean islands, but it is still in the Atlantic, it is still in the Caribbean Sea. But some argue that it is not. Some say that it is the Atlantic Ocean. It is bounded by all two. St. Philip is, Barbados is bounded by the Atlantic and the Caribbean Sea. Further south, further east, this is northeasterly now, towards Skeets Bay and Bearfield in St. Philip, and Fortescue in St. Philip, and back to St. John as well. You can see St. John over here with College Savannah. College Savannah, St. John over here where St. Mark's Church is on top of the hill. You can see St. Mark's Anglican Church on top of the hill, which is bordering St. Philip and St. John. St. Mark's Church is on the border of St. John and St. Philip in a place called College Savannah. You can see Concept Bay, which is just below St. Mark's Church, which is a fishing village at College Savannah as well. You can see all up in St. John by Codrington College and so on. The East Point Lighthouse. You can see St. Catherine Sports Club as well in St. Philip. As I said before, St. Philip is home to Red Plastic Bag, a Calypsonian from Barbados who sings Raga Raga, Can't Find Me Brother, Bim I Love You, and he sings Me Hands Tied. His most known hit is Raga Raga. It is played in almost all the Caribbean countries and Latin American countries. And his famous Christmas song, I forgot to mention, that is Maisie. Forgot to mention that Maisie is his well-known hit at Christmas time. Maisie, in all honesty, why not under the Christmas tree? Maisie, I am vexed because you're making movements with Santa Claus. That is very plastic bag. Also, it is home to another Calypsonian, Matt Fingal, who is a well-known comedian as well around the island. Matt Fingal is from St. Philip, as well as Blood and John King, two rather well-known Calypsonians from Barbados. As I said before, St. Philip is the flattest parish, it is the largest parish, and it is the parish in Barbados which has less hills or no hills at all. Most of it is a flat land. St. Philip is mostly a flat land, flat terrain. This is the East Point Lighthouse. You can see northeasterly from here, St. Philip, a bit of St. Philip, and into St. John. And you can see all across the Farley Hill, which is further north, in the parish of St. Peter, which is bounded by St. Andrew to the northeastern end. You can see all up in Farley Hill from here. So this is the East Point Lighthouse. So you can get to the lighthouse from here, to the sea, to the watch the view of the sea from here. This is one of the four lighthouses in Barbados. You can get a good view from here as well. The lighthouse. So we're going back onto the roadside now. So now kissing the East Point Lighthouse goodbye for today. I would like to come back next week. The lighthouse over here. Over here's a peaceful, quiet area in the countryside. I'm in the quiet countryside here in Barbados right now. This is a rural area. Lighthouse. I'm going back onto the road now to wait for the bus and go back to town. So this is country life here in Barbados. As the older folk will always say, country life is the best anywhere, anytime. And out here is a peaceful area as well. We'll pathway back to the lighthouse. Yes, guys, even though St. Philip is a rural parish in the countryside, it is less rustic. Like how you will go into St. Andrew and St. Joseph and St. Thomas and St. George and see the cairns and so on. You wouldn't see much of that here in St. Philip. Yeah. Because St. Philip is more developed and a lot of land is here for sale. A lot of people, outsiders as well, building houses in St. Philip. As I said before, Barbados does not have much resources like hills and valleys and mountains, but we still have a few hills that can be quite challenging. And it has a lot of, what I would say, another thing too, we only depend on tourism for our economy to prosper, to thrive. We we depend on tourism. That is why the police is very hard on persons attacking tourists here in Barbados. Tourism is the only thing we have now. One time it was sugar. The same right plastic boy had a song named Sugar Made Us Free. I think that was his first song. Sugar made us free. Well, that was that time. This is a different time. We no longer depend on sugar. We only have one sugar factory remaining here in Barbados, and that is the one there in Porterville, St. James, to the northwestern end of the island. Along highway to where just when we come around from St. Thomas Church, Porterville Sugar Factory is there, and they have a museum there as well. Well, that's the only thing we have left back to, because say, is the sugar factory to process the cane. You can see St. Catherine's Church over here, which is nearby. St. Catherine's Anglican Church near to Bearfield. St. Catherine's Church is in St. Philip as well. Just around the corner. I forgot to mention that we are in close proximity to Culpeper Island, which is another little island off Barbados. A little dot off the shores of Barbados is Culpeper Island. Culpeper Island is in St. Philip as well. It's off of St. Philip shores. It's Culpeper Island. Back onto the main road. So this way will lead you back to Bearfield and the same Skeets Bay and St. Catherine's Church and Marivier in St. Philip. This way back to Merritt's and Long Bay and Merritt's and Contact Court and Long Bay and Lighthouse this way. Alright. No closing now. Thanks for watching. And have a blessed evening. So this is all East Point in St. Philip. Thanks for watching. Can you hear a red plastic by some plane? Right, can't for me, brother?